Just earlier there is Cole Langford, and I think Essendon supporters are really excited to see his development across this year. Last year was his breakout season, playing through the midfield. He can go forward as well, but yeah, as a taller midfield, there's definitely a spot there for him to make his place within the competition, and certainly the Bombers will be hoping for that this year.
Forward as well and kicked a couple of goals, so starts forward today and he's pretty composed finisher and he puts that one through. So the Blues get the first goal of the evening, of the afternoon I should say, on half back. Is he going to go through the midfield? Well, he's actually playing through the midfield and across half forward. So the Blues have identified that he's a player that can go forward and hit the scoreboard as Harry Mackay wins a free kick, wheels around and kicks for goal. And that goal might be down to some work he did during the off-season. You wrote a very interesting...
I think everyone understands that with some of the changes that have happened over the past couple of years. Orazio Fantasia leaves the club to join Port Adelaide. Such a star for the Bombers over a couple of years. Joe Danaher, we know, hasn't played significant footy for a period of time, but still leaves a big hole as an All-Australian and former best and fairest. So there is some exciting talent coming through.
Gets his opportunity now in front of goal to put the Blues back in front on the stroke of quarter time. He's had a very good summer, Paddy Dow. I'm hearing good things, and the Blues fans have reason to be excited, and I think that's why. The goal umpire doesn't move. Paddy Dow puts it through, and Carlton back in front.
They obviously replaced the Bombers in that final series, so it will be one to watch how they go this year, given the experience they've brought in.
Cripps' kick just over the head of Mackay, but Dyson Heppel tripped at a pretty inopportune moment, and he's run down by one of our personal favourites in the commentary box, Zach Fisher. It was a nice tackle from the young man who's playing forward this year, and everything you hear out of Carlton is that he's just lighting it up at the moment as a small forward.
Yeah, and we saw that last year in the second half of the season, didn't we? And it's his skills, it's his tenacity, as we saw there with the tackle. And he dodged this one pretty comfortably, as he would expect it to be doing from that part of the ground. But look, he's going to play as a permanent full small forward, isn't he? So new positions across the board at AFL level this year. And we saw Mark Murphy with the handball there. He's been spending a bit more time forward, hasn't he?
Yeah, I think that's where we'll see Mark Murphy for the majority of the campaign. That's a lovely kick to Mark Pitney as well. Just that spearing ball. He's probably Carlton's best user on the run in space, Mark Murphy. His ability to lower the eyes and find leading targets. So I think that's what Carlton wants, is that high forward option. And this is important for the Blues, that a ruck option can go forward and hit the scoreboard, because I think it was what everyone was really excited about when Matthew Cruiser first broke onto the scene in about 2007. But they haven't had too many goals from ruck recently, as Mark Pitney puts that through and extends Carlton's lead to 14 points, the biggest advantage. And attended a lot of centre bounces in that time. I think it was a role that Carlton was grooming him for. So whether or not he still has the aerobic capacity to do that, as Murphy handballs to Fisher, who gets the ball across to Cunningham, and he walks it through for a goal. So the Blues have got 3 on the trot to start this second quarter, and they extend their lead to 20 points. But yeah, just whether or not Sam Docherty has that.
Just when he started to really hold his own in that lineup. So hopefully a change of position can result in a change of luck, and we can see a bit more from Jayden Laverde, a top 20 pick from 2014, and still working out his game at the top level.
Carlton moving this ball nicely from one flank to the other, and eventually finding Jack Nunes, who's well accustomed to this area of the field. If you remember last year's match winning after the siren goal against Fremantle, a really nice pinpoint kick that we just see there on the replay from Sam Petrevski-Seton. There's been a lot of questions floating around about whether Sam Petrevski-Seton will potentially move back into the midfield. He was drafted as a midfielder. He's gone to half-back under David Teague, and I think that's what he provides in that position, as Jack Nunes absolutely flushes that from 55 and puts it through. So the Blues reclaim the lead by 2 points. But
because you put him against Sard and Docherty, and there's 3 very different half-back rebounders, all in their different styles, and he's one of them.
Geez, this is exciting. One bounce through the middle and then straightening up on that left foot, which he's known to do, and that's a good mark from Patrick Cripps.
Geez, if any piece of play can sum up why the Blues went so hard, and this management team headed by Nick Austin and Mickey Resta went so hard at Adam Sard, then that was it, wasn't it? That was symbolic Sard, really, off half-back, and a dashing kick.
And the pivotal handball out of the contest from Paddy Dow. That's the working congestion that we've seen from him as a junior, that made him that pick 3 in the 2017 draft. It's that ability to get really important in that. Nick Hind, we saw Ham, as you mentioned. Paddy Dow, it's a good sidestep from him. But just that final kick inside 50 hasn't been there. Unlike that one from Paddy Dow. We spoke about the work he's done in his finishing this summer, Paddy Dow. That was a lovely finishing kick inside 50 to Harry Mackay, who takes a strong mark. And this is where, having written the article on him earlier this week, I'm sure you're looking to see how his action matches up with the work he's done both mentally and physically over the off-season. Just inside 50, he brings it back nicely and gets his second for the game, Harry Mackay. So he becomes Carlton's first multiple goal kicker. Have a shot, I reckon. Maybe you might get that message from David Teague after the game. Pitney can't get boot to ball, but Mark Murphy can. Puts it through. Carlton have another. And the lead is out to 23 points. The biggest it has been all day. As Mark
Super draft, the second super draft that we'll talk about. And Sam Walsh was at the top of that pool.
There is Sam Walsh. Nice flowing move this from Carlton. Can Zach Fisher find the kick inside 50? I tell you what, he sells some nice candy to James Stewart and picks out Jack Martin. And here is Sam Petrevski-Seton, who's not a noted goal kicker, and perhaps why he finds Zach Williams. So it was interesting for the Blues that the little rotation they made just prior to this movement. Patrick Cripps went off the field for a break. He'd been resting forward. And Zach Williams, who had spent almost the entirety of the quarter playing out of the middle from centre bouncers, moved into his position out at the goal square. And now he's taken this mark and will look to further extend Carlton's lead.
And if he can become another string to David Teague's bow as a forward, it makes him an even more exciting package, doesn't it, really? Because you have this weaponry, don't you, that can go forward. And even if you had to, there's an injury or there's someone out of form across half-back. He's already done that for the best part of his career before becoming a free agent last year. So that was a really nice finish.
It was. So the Blues, their lead is out to 29 points. They've got a bit of a run on in this third quarter, but
been appointed the kick-out specialist for the Bombers.
Archie Perkins, you could see what he was trying to do, but Jack Martin's a hard man to get around. He's noted for his tackling ability at Carlton. Stops the first-year midfielder in his tracks there. Lockie Fogarty goes inside 50. Just can't find him. That is a lovely goal from Paddy Dow, who takes the ball at its highest point and slots it through on the goal line. He's got a couple. Carlton's lead is out to 6 goals, but I think we'll go back.
And we've been at training a fair bit this year as well across a lot of clubs, and Ed Curnow's running alongside Sam Walsh and Matt Cottrell is just like something you regularly expect when you go and see a Carlton session, and that's a great grab from Pitney. And we mentioned before about turning him into more of a forward threat. Well, particularly if there's some issue with Harry Mackay now out of this game, that is a great mark, and he's shown great presence there throughout this game.
He has. Adam Sard back on the field. He was the other one that sort of limped off in that collision with Harry Mackay. He's back out there. Harry's still watching on from the benches. Pitney puts that through, so he's got his second of the day, and the Blues extend their lead. Cutler getting that ball and intercepting, but the Blues Bombers can't get it out of their back 50, and Ed Curnow will deliver it back inside. Here's Will Setterfield, who spent most of the day on a wing. Probably played his best footy as an inside midfielder last year in what was perhaps his best year as on Carlton's list and as an AFL player, but back on a wing with the Blues trialling a few others through the centre of the ground.
Michael Gibbons is resurfaced as a sub. It was almost like the sub rules back. He's just active, quick, and he kicks it to his good mate, Zach Fisher. A nice little pinpoint pass. One play we haven't seen yet from a Carlton perspective.
As Fisher wheels around and just sneaks that home.
That's another goal for Fisher. Another goal to the Carlton small forwards too.